Hola, ¿qué tal? Qué gusto saludarte nuevamente. A continuación, vamos a aprender de un proyecto muy interesante que lo está desarrollando el país de Malasia. Malasia es un país que recientemente se independizó en 1957. El año pasado fue sede de la Cumbre Mundial de Negocios Sociales. Ahí, como delegados de México, pudimos aprender algo muy interesante y que nos motiva a que te lo presentemos a continuación. Ellos tienen la visión de en el 2020 ser un país de primer mundo. Para esto han desarrollado un programa que se llama Magic y con esto pretenden alcanzarlo. Lo interesante de este país es que conviven tres grandes religiones y está compuesto por diferentes reinos. Y también a la vez esa visión la quieren lograr con el desarrollo de todo el país, es decir, que se desarrolle la base de la pirámide, que se desarrollen negocios sociales y que todo el país alcance esa gran visión 2020. Para entenderlo mejor, te invitamos a escuchar a Cheryl Yeo, directora de Magic, quien nos explicará qué están haciendo al respecto. Por favor, a verlo.
Last year the summit was in Malaysia. You're now the CEO of Magic, which is a great name because social business is partly magic, but it's also real. So it's real and magic. And you're an experienced entrepreneur yourself, and now you are trying to spread social business. Could you give us an update of what's happened since the last summit? And what kinds of learning you personally have had, and what is spreading social business in Malaysia?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so as we all know, the Social Business Summit was held in Malaysia last year. And at the time, I wasn't in Malaysia yet. I was still in the US. I've been in the US as an entrepreneur for the past 12 years. And I actually sold my company, my startup, in Silicon Valley to Walmart Labs. So I came back this year in April to help the government build the startup ecosystem in Malaysia. So Magic actually has a larger purpose to help the entire startup ecosystem, and we have a fund. So last year at the Social Business Summit, a 20 million ringgit fund was announced for Magic to focus solely on social enterprises, and that's about close to 20% of our total fund at Magic. So the first thing I did when I was appointed was to appoint someone to lead this fund, which is her name is Grace Tsai. She was the founder and CEO of the Hub in Singapore, which is a co-working space for social entrepreneurs. But she's Malaysian, so she came back to lead this social enterprise initiative under the Magic umbrella. And you know, sort of taking a note from Brad Feld's book. He's an entrepreneur and VC, and he writes about how there are leaders and feeders in the ecosystem. So leaders of entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship should always be entrepreneurs, and the feeders are the governments or the people who provide the resources, right? So me as an entrepreneur myself, I'm very glad that the government of Malaysia has appointed me to lead an entrepreneurial ecosystem, and hence to lead our social enterprise. The first step we did was to hire an entrepreneur to lead it, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I guess, why did we decide to merge the you know, sort of more for-profit enterprise with the social enterprise. It's because as Malaysia is considered a developing nation, and we're moving toward a developed nation by year 2020. And as we think about how the country pushed its boundaries in innovation, we're talking a lot about the capital economy, but we've made a social effort and conscious decision to not forget about the people economy. So how do we balance the capital economy and the people economy? Because by definition, innovation actually disperses jobs. It actually you know, create less jobs, because using technology, you're actually displacing jobs. So how do you then think about the social issues in the country as it's developing, right, and not forget about that. So which is why Malaysia is really pushing toward a huge social initiative. So marrying the social and capital economy, which I think is great. And bridging the income gap as we move forward to a developed nation, right? So the first thing we did was to do a national survey in Malaysia, and it's still ongoing right now until December this year. We've discovered that a lot of people in Malaysia are, especially in the school age, college age, are very interested in social business, more so than the typical for-profit entrepreneurship, which is really inspiring. So our strategy and framework, so these are practical tips. If any one of you are here thinking about how to create this social enterprise movement in your countries, in 7 months, here's what we've come up with. So I'm going to talk a bit about the strategy framework and how we've divided our fund. 20 million ringgit is about 6.5 million USD. So 3 things guide our framework. The first is that because social enterprise is so new in Malaysia, we want to define what it is, right, and give legitimacy towards social entrepreneurs, because it runs the gamut, right, from the non-profits are sort of making money and are trying to be social entrepreneurs, and then the for-profit companies are trying to be more socially responsible. So there's a spectrum of companies. So we've taken the stance that the wider the definition at the beginning of an ecosystem is better, so we don't exclude anyone. And then as we go along, as the ecosystem matures, we can refine it a little bit more. So number 1 is providing the definition for what a social enterprise means and legitimacy toward it. Number 2, Magic will work on enabling infrastructure. So a lot of social entrepreneurs still can't get bank loans, they need legal help, banking services, so all these things we're going to provide for them so that it's easier for them to focus on the core social impact and the business. The third thing that we're going to do is to provide organizational capabilities. So as some of you have mentioned, the mentoring, the classes. So at Magic Academy, we would have the focus on helping entrepreneurs focus on the business aspect of marketing and business planning and so on and so forth. So that's sort of our framework. And then the last point I'm going to make is how we've split up the 6.5 million USD. So about 10% we're going to invest in a fund for equity to invest in social entrepreneurs, so impact fund. 10%. 20% we're going to invest in education and capabilities, so the Magic Academy, the training and all that. Another 20% we're investing on intermediaries. So there are organizations that are helping social entrepreneurs like co-working spaces and so on and so forth. So 20% will go toward that. And finally 50% will go toward an accelerator program, so a social enterprise accelerator program where we're trying to create a critical mass of putting 50 social entrepreneurs in the same room, 50 startups focusing on social issues in the same room, because we believe that the cohort is important, the critical mass, the cohort is important when they help each other out. So it's not just about us giving them mentors, it's also really important that they help each other out. And if you think back, most of your best friends tend to be from your high school or your college. Why? Because you entered and graduated from the same cohort. And that community is very important to create this social enterprise community. So that's what we've done.
That's fantastic.
Cheryl, so thanks for your presentation. It was very inspiring speech. Wonderful experience for us here in Mexico. Can you tell us more a little bit of what you're doing for Malaysia 2020?
Yeah, for sure. So Malaysia has a goal as a country to reach a developed nation status by 2020. So we're still a developing country like Mexico. So I was appointed as CEO of Magic in April this year. So it's just been 7 months, a very short 7 months. And Magic stands for the Malaysian Group for Innovation and Creativity Center. And as part of our fund, so Magic is supposed to build the startup ecosystem for Malaysia.
Government sponsored.
Yes, fully funded by the Ministry of Finance, by the government. So as part of our startup ecosystem, about 20% of our fund is focused on social enterprises specifically to also develop the social enterprise ecosystem. Yeah. So I can tell you a bit about what we've done so far.
Okay. Yeah, like the main points of how you're approaching this enormous project.
Sure, yeah. So I'll talk about two things. One is our framework and our strategy, and two is how we've divided the fund, which is about 6.5 million USD over the next 2 years or so. So the first thing I did was to appoint an entrepreneur to lead the social enterprise fund initiative. She's Grace Sai, and she is the founder of the Hub in Singapore, which is a co-working space for social entrepreneurs. Because we believe that entrepreneurs should lead entrepreneurial ecosystems.
What made you choose her? Like, what was it?
Because she was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's hard for someone who's never been an entrepreneur to lead an ecosystem to build social entrepreneurs, right? So that's the first thing we did. The second thing we did was to create a national survey to see how many social entrepreneurs are there out there, and to try to figure out what are their issues, what are their challenges, right? Because it's such a new thing, right? And there's so many different definitions around the world about what a social enterprise is. Yeah, so the framework that we have in mind is threefold. One is, as I said, because there's so many definitions, we wanted to define what a social enterprise is, but we also have to be very careful with that, because you cannot define too tightly, because then you're going to exclude a lot of people. Because a lot of social entrepreneurs in Malaysia right now are like non-profits who are making some income, but they're trying to be social businesses, right? And then there are also corporates, for-profit companies that are trying to be more socially responsible, trying to be more social entrepreneurs. So initially, we have to make the definition bigger, so we don't exclude anybody. And then as the ecosystem matures, we define it more, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as Magic, we want to build enabling infrastructures. So a lot of social entrepreneurs still find it hard to get bank loans, to register their company. Am I not-for-profit or not-for-profit? What is it? So Magic will help guide these entrepreneurs as to, hey, if you're focusing on social impact businesses, here's what you should do. Here are the banks that you should talk to, and here are the legal services that can help.
How are you making available this information?
Through our website, mymagic.online. Yeah.
How are you promoting the website in the country? Like, how are you reaching all those people?
So through our national survey, we create an awareness for sure. Yeah, so we want to reach as many people as possible, but also through our communities. We have a lot of social enterprise communities that we consider as intermediaries. So they're the ones who are trying to help social entrepreneurs. They have co-working spaces, facilities, training programs, so we spread the word through them as well. So the third part of our framework is basically organizational capability. So like I said, there are a lot of non-for-profits who are trying to be more self-sustainable, so they're not always relying on donations or grants. So we're teaching them business skills. We have something called the Magic Academy, and the Academy teaches them basic business modeling skills, financial modeling, marketing, advertising skills, and so on.
Alan, thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to have you.
Oh, thank you. This is fun.
Awesome. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions regarding the conference. What were you able to take from the conference that you see yourself implementing in an initiative?
Well, this is the 5th conference I've been to. I only missed one. And I can tell you every year the number of people grows, the number of projects gets larger, the number of people trying new projects increases, and the energy gets more and more powerful. So I'm very excited to be here because of the passion for social business and the number of young people who are here who really want to find a way to use social business to both use their business skills and make a difference in the way they change the world. So my goal going forward is simply to be a part of this movement and to try to use social business to help make a difference.
Fantastic. Alan, can you please tell us a little bit more about perhaps your favorite participant or your favorite speech?
Well, it's, everybody's favorite participant is Professor Yunus because he is so magic. I've known Professor Yunus now for 8-9 years, and he hasn't changed. He's the same person. He's very down to earth. He doesn't talk about himself. He talks about other people and how they could be given a better life or earn a better life for themselves. So, of course, Professor Yunus is a one-of-a-kind individual. I think I've also been impressed by the Bangladesh delegation. These people work so hard with so little to make a difference in their country. And then the people who come from all over the world. We have people from Sweden, and we have people from Canada, and we've got people from the United States, and people from Brazil. It's magic. Bolivia, yes, of course, and Texas.
In Texas.
And to see all the people from around the world come together, and what they share is social business and a passion to make the world more fair, more equitable, better lives for so many poor people, lift them out of poverty. So that whole feeling is what makes this special.
Fantastic. And I wanted to proceed and ask you, if you were to tweet in 140 characters.
Wait a minute, I've heard this question before.
You have. But what would you say?
Join the movement, make social business the future.
Join the movement, make social business the future.
I don't know if that's 140 characters, but
me neither.
It's close enough to be a tweet.
Definitely. And I also wanted to proceed, how do you see social businesses in Latin America?
I think it's a huge opportunity. I mean, we had a speaker yesterday who talked about how all of Latin America has both huge advantages and huge problems. And if you can somehow get the advantages to work to solve the problems, then all of a sudden the future of Latin America is very bright. And it begins to look more and more like people who are in poverty, people who are struggling for education, healthcare, housing, water, sanitation. That future can happen. So I think it's this, there are almost two Latin Americas. There's the Latin America that is struggling and the Latin America that's filled with possibilities. Now let me ask you a question. You're 21 years old.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and this is your first social business summit.
It is.
So what did you learn from this summit?
I learned that people are powerful, and that, you know, when we take the initiative of pursuing a business that is no longer so political, I believe that social business allows us to pursue business from a different dimension.
Correct.
And I think that's the magic to it, the fact that it's so free and it's so new. We're the pioneers of social business.
And you're 21, so when you're 30, let's say 9 years from now, what do you predict social business will look like all over the world? What do you see?
Limitless. I believe that social business is going to be the new way of doing business. Perhaps the only way of doing business.
So she's 21, listen to her, she's very smart.